All right, well, welcome everybody to our Wednesday webinar on this April. It's supposed to be sunny by now, but I'm not seeing as much sun, but it's the middle of April, which is kind of crazy. And last night we celebrated doing our 10K dress rehearsal for the TC 10K, and it was so great seeing so many people out and seeing how far they had come on this pretty amazing journey. And I'm always inspired. I'm always inspired seeing everybody, because I know last night there was a few people that was their first time doing that distance, or maybe it was their second time because they did it last week at the lakes. And it's just seeing those smiles and the sweat and the I think just the determination on everyone's face, and just that feeling of accomplishment was really such an inspiring thing for me to be able to see. So yeah, congratulations to everybody who has been participating and doing the work to get to where you are right now. It is an amazing accomplishment, and it is an amazing journey. So well done, everybody. Yay. And I am super excited tonight because I have, as my guest on here, our webinar tonight, I have Wendy Swinton. And I met Wendy, I think like it's been 2 sessions now, or almost 2 full years, I think, that I've known Wendy, and watched her progress from doing, the 30 seconds. Oh, we've got some people joining us, which is great. I've watched Wendy from doing the 30 seconds of running and 2 minutes of walking to progressing to her first 8K when she came out and did that around El Beaver, I think it was, or just maybe it was before that. But and then to see her participating in all of these different races and events, and even traveling to Thailand and doing a race in very, very hot temperatures. And she inspires me every time I see her out there, because she's always got a smile on her face. She's always just going for it. And I just love seeing the spunk. I don't know if that's the right word, Wendy. I don't mean that to be an offensive word, but there's just this spunk about Wendy that makes you want to get out and move. And so I'm thrilled to have Wendy on tonight and to share a bit of her journey, her story. And I think that there will be a nugget or 2 of inspiration for everybody to take away from today. So over to you, Wendy.
All right, thanks, Tracy. And first of all, congratulations to everybody that did their first 10K. I remember that feeling, never thought that I would ever be able to do it. But before I start talking about my running, I want to just give you a little bit of an introduction to me and some of my background. Is I've had a life of adventure. It's not always been easy, but it's always been interesting. And I've certainly had my fair share of challenges. I like to say that there's a story behind every one of these gray hairs. I lived a lot of my adult life abroad. I've lived in England, Spain, Belgium, and I lived in Iran during the Iranian Revolution. And that's where I found myself pregnant with my first son. But as the revolution escalated, I was put on an evacuation flight out of Tehran and ended up in England in my 9th month of pregnancy. This was in 1979. I was alone, 23 years old, and I just had the clothes that I had on my back. My luggage didn't arrive for another 10 days, but my son was born late, which was really good because I needed that extra time, so I actually had some clothes. And I moved in with an aunt and uncle of my husband's and gave birth to my first son, Adam, in Southampton, England. This was all pre-cell phones, so it was a week before my husband found out that he was a father, and 6 weeks before he was able to fly out and meet his son. Then when Adam was 9 months old, we moved to Lagos, Nigeria, where we lived for 17 years, but with a brief stint in Waterloo, Belgium. I flew home from West Africa to Calgary for the birth of my second son, Matthew, again without my husband, but this time my mom was in the delivery room with me. Then, it's kind of interesting too, because my sons grew up in Nigeria. And as I said, I lived there for 17 years. And just this week, I read an article about the most difficult countries in the world for expats to live in, and Nigeria was ranked as the most difficult. But, we kept smiling, we had fun. But I returned to Canada in 1996 at the end of my marriage. And it was a really, really dark place for me. And it was just the lowest point in my life. But I knew the best thing that I could do for myself was to have a good life. So I enrolled in U of T and graduated with my BA in 2002. And I also did a certificate in dispute resolution at the same time. I wasn't very physically active, but learned to work hard and did a lot of volunteer work and ran some support groups for women going through separation and divorce. But then my oldest son, Adam Campbell, left Ontario to pursue triathlon in Victoria, and he moved in with Simon Whitfield. And I came out to visit, fell in love with Victoria, so went home, packed up, and moved from Toronto to Victoria. It was the best thing I could have done for myself. It was a fantastic move. I started to get really active, doing things that I'd never done before. I did dragon boating, kayaking, outriver canoeing. I even took up horseback riding lessons for a couple of years. But then I started to work full time, and I watched my fitness decline and my weight go up and up and up. I put on 30 pounds. And meanwhile, Adam switched from triathlon into running. Mainly he was doing ultra running, so super long distances. And I was a huge fan. I went to all kinds of races, traveled far and wide to cheer him on, from the TC 10K, Ironman Canada in Penticton, Chuckanut 50K race in Bellingham, Washington. And I would cyber cheer him on as he competed in races around the world. He was surrounded by elite athletes and Olympians. His 10K personal best is 30.51. And his marathon personal best is 2:29. And he once ran the Victoria Marathon in a business suit, and he did that in 2:35. So you can see he was fast. So and he finished second place in the Vancouver Marathon when I was cheering him on. So my interpretation and thinking to be a runner is you have to podium. So I never, ever in my dreams thought that I could be a runner. But then I started approaching my 60th birthday a couple of years ago. And as I'd put on so much extra weight, I knew I had to do something about it. And then my youngest son and his wife were expecting a child. So I'm going to become a grandma. And then I was watching my own mom's health decline before her death. She had 9 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren. Now, it's unlikely I'll ever be a great-grandma, but I want to be around to watch my grandchildren grow. And I want to be able to do things with them. So I knew that losing that weight and getting fit was going to be important. And my youngest son, Matthew, and his family live in Bangkok, Thailand. It's a long way to go, and jet lag is quite exhausting. And I know trips are going to be in my future. So I have to stay fit, even just to survive the long trips and to watch my grandchildren grow. And number 2's now on the way as well. So I spoke to my doctor, my GP in town. He's got a background in kinesiology. So when I told him I wanted to start running, he told me about an app you can get on your phone called Couch to 5K. So I downloaded it, and this was my go-to training site in the beginning. It was a great program, and I was able to program a woman's voice on it. And she would prompt you and say, good job, tell you when to run, when to walk, and how to build up slowly to a 5K run. And apart from the encouragement from my partner, Randy, I kept my running to myself. Then I realized what a great resource I had in my son, Adam. And despite the distances that he runs and the speed, he understood what I needed to do. And he said, just walk 1 minute, Mom, then run a minute and build up really slowly. My thinking was, if you're going to run 10K, you start off and you run 10K. And if you couldn't do that, you weren't a runner. So I hadn't realized that you had to build up slowly. And no wonder I didn't think I could run. So then Adam also encouraged me to join a run group. And he said that, the social aspect of it would be something that he knew with my personality, especially, that I'd really enjoy, because running can be a pretty solitary sport. And I'm a very social person, and I really do like that aspect. So I went on my good friend Google, and I found Soul Sisters and realized that the Friday morning group would really fit in to my schedule. And the support that I get from all the women there is incredible. You come away after each run feeling like you've accomplished so much. So I told Adam I was doing this, and then he posted my goals on his Facebook page. Now, initially, I thought, oh, this is because my son's really proud of me. And then I realized he did it because then I would have public accountability, and I would have to continue to run. So he knows his mom really well. Signing up for races is another good motivator. I even did a race in Bangkok with my son, Matthew. It was brutally hot. It was about 33 degrees. So I was really suffering the heat coming from winter here, and my calf seized up. So I was really running and walking, but I was doing it together with my son, and we had a blast. And it was Songkran, which is the Thai New Year's. And one of the things that they do in New Year's is they wash away the old. So New Year's celebrations are one big, massive water fight. So as we're running along the course, we're being soaked at the same time, which was great because it really helped keep us cool. And it was part of the fun. So that wasn't just a race, it was an experience. And it was a real bonding time with my son. You were able to do one loop of the park, 2 or 3 loops. And I think each loop was 2.5K. So I did the 5K, and then my son hadn't done enough. So he went on to do another loop. But we did the first 2 loops together. So that was really fun. Then the first race that I ever did was the 8K portion of the Victoria Marathon in 2005. I broke down and cried when I crossed the finish line and got that medal. I didn't want to take it off all day. I was just so proud of it. So then I immediately went home and I signed up for more races. I keep all my medals and race bibs tacked onto the wall in my garage, and I write on the back of them my finishing times. But I'm starting to pay a lot less attention to that because I've actually slowed down. I had a period in the fall where I didn't do as much, and over the winter. And I realized that that's not really what even matters. It's just getting out there and doing it. And I like to run with people as well. And I bought a medal hanger at one of the race expos to put all the medals on, and it says, "She believed she could, so she did." And I just love that. So in the 2 years since I started running, I was going to say racing, but running, I've entered 9 races, and I've got 3 more to go this season. I've already done 1. And I continue to renew my Soul Sisters memberships. I think this is 3rd or 4th time. I'm not quite sure. And I've learned that determination and hard work does pay off. In the fall, my son Adam had a near fatal running accident. He and a couple of buddies were trying to do something called an FKT, which is fastest known time, traversing the Rogers Pass. But a rock that he held on to as he was running up a hill broke away, and he fell 200 meters or 200 feet backwards down the mountain. He broke his pelvis, did severe ligament damage to his ankle, broke several vertebrae, along with severe lacerations in every part of his body. He had 8 hours of surgery. But during his recovery, he'd have me wheel him in his wheelchair to the pool so we could do water walking. I'd swim laps as he pushed his body to do even the simplest of movements. And during the stress of this time, I didn't want to leave his side. But here I was, able-bodied, so there was no excuse for not being active. And what an inspiration he was to me. And thankfully, his determination and hard work has paid off for him. This was just when he was in the hospital. We were all there together. That's his dad and stepmom and me and his fiance, all massaging his legs and feet that were so sore. So it was an incredibly bonding time as well. I went and stayed with him in Canmore during his recovery and did a few runs along the Bow River. Once I had to even detour around a herd of elk. I stopped running to watch them and I listened to the males bugling. It was mating season. And so I took time out to enjoy the scenery and just being outdoors. So it wasn't just about the run, but the run was what got me out there doing it. It was magical and it was a real stress reliever. So I never thought that I could say I'm a runner, but now I am a runner. I've even given a talk at Food Canada in Vancouver to 650 people. And now here I am on a webinar. I mean, who knew? I'll never be at the front of the pack, but then again, I'm never at the back either. And I've learned it doesn't even matter because there's such a huge sense of accomplishment when crossing the finish line, no matter what place I'm in. And as I've said, it's immediately got me signing up for more races. I think they're clever at those race expos to get you right after the race because the endorphins are kicked in and you're on a real runner's high. So I'm just out there. I want to sign up for more races. And the races and training help with fitness, weight management, and your morale and self-esteem. The other positive to come out of running, especially when in a run group, are the bonds that we forge. Each of our soul sisters encourage one another, and each of us motivates the other and helps us to achieve our goals and take pride in our accomplishments. We share that with each other. And as we hear every week, there is a place for each of us. And it doesn't matter. You know, one day you might be feeling faster or slower. You'll get the support from the group. And that is just such a wonderful thing. And I found out that I've been running with Janice from the Friday morning group and found out just on Monday, we did the 10K practice for the TC 10K. And we were doing a walk run, and I can't talk that well when I'm running, but we're walking, we talk. And I found out that we grew up on the same street, one block apart in Calgary. And we had no idea. I mean, what a small world. She's younger than I am, so we didn't go to the same schools or anything like that, and we didn't know each other in Calgary. And her mom and my dad will be 90 years old, 3 days apart this July. And both her mom and my dad have been battling health issues. So we talk about that. So we've got that support in other aspects of our lives as well. And then on Monday, when we finished our run, we were doing some yoga stretches. I've never done yoga, but Janice was showing me some yoga stretches. And a tourist stopped, a gentleman about my age, and said, "Oh, I do yoga too. I don't run, but I do yoga. Oh, that's so awesome." And then the police officer, the legislature police officer, security lady, came over in her full uniform with her bulletproof vest, her club, handcuffs, and everything. And she said, "All right, ladies, you've done your run, but can you do push-ups? Come on, give me 10. So, of course we did. And then she started to laugh, and she goes, "Oh, I can do it too." And even with all her gear on. So she got down, and she did about 15, going down a lot further than I could. And then suddenly we looked, and we're surrounded with all these people with their cameras taking pictures, and everybody's clapping. And so that came out of running. And that was just real fun. And then we inspired some total strangers. Like, who knew that was possible? I mean, up and down, in front of the legislature, the sky was blue. You're looking at the inner harbor. I mean, what a beautiful setting for it. Then the other thing that made me start realizing that, I am a runner, I started getting running presents. My sister sent this one to me. I don't know if you can read it, but it's a little coaster that lists all the reasons to run. And the reasons are, I feel down. I feel so lazy. If I go for a run, I won't have to do the dishes. I can breathe fresh air. If I go for a run, I feel better afterwards. My brain will work better. My lungs will thank me. I can avoid my email. My body will thank me.
Mm.
Now, I'm sure there are many more, and I'm sure each of you can relate to this and other reasons to go running on your own. And I know a lot of people have that, the 5-minute rule, which I've talked to other runners, and my son has had that. Some days you just don't feel like going out. So he said, okay, I'll go out and I'll give myself 5 minutes. And if I still don't feel like running, I'll turn around and go back home. But inevitably, when you get out there after 5 minutes, you don't want to stop. You want to complete your workout, and you come home and you feel fantastic. I think those runs are almost the most rewarding, the ones where you really had to push yourself to get out. Then I have this nice little Soul Sisters jingle bell, and it says, every time you hear a bell ring, can you hear it? That means the Soul Sister is out inspiring people, moving and inspiring women to believe that they can. So yes, I am a runner because I can. Yeah, so thank you, Soul Sisters, for helping me on this journey to running.
Wow, Wendy, that was amazing. Like,
oh,
so
thank you.
great. So many awesome bits of information in there. I love, I think I love how you've really, you've gotten down to your why. You understand your why, and you know the reasons why you're out moving your body. And it sounds like you've really identified that as you are, experiencing getting, I don't even want to say older, but the numbers, is that you want to be there for your family, for your grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be able to move. You want to be able to enjoy and do the things, traveling. And I think that's a big key to it. When we understand our why, it helps keep us going during those days when you're like, okay, I don't really want to go out. I'm feeling kind of lazy. But you sound like that piece is really clear. Did that happen overnight, or did that take some time for that to become clear as to why you were making your body do this work?
I think it was kind of sudden that, I've got to do it. But then it took time to realize why I need to continue to do it. And I think that was took a little bit more work. And there's no doubt there's some days that I'm a fair weather runner, and there's some days that I don't want to go out. I do over the winter when it was really wet, I would go on the treadmill. Right. But that really is not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But
you've also been doing other classes now as well, haven't you? Like you're doing
some. Yeah, I do a core fitness class, and I'm not swimming as much as I did last year, and I'm not quite sure what that's about because I actually really like doing that.
Right.
And that's a nice, easy one. So
yeah,
and I'm retired now. I've got the time. There's no excuse for not going out and doing it. And when you see people that aren't completely able-bodied and they're out walking and making the effort, there's no excuse. You've got that body. We should worship our bodies.
And how, like, now that it's just been over 2 years, and you sound great in terms of how you describe it, but how do you physically feel? Like, how does your body
I have a lot of energy. I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might go out and do I felt I was really tired on Monday after the 10K run, because I think 5K is probably my distance. After I did my first run, Adam goes, well, now you can build up to a marathon. And I kind of, well, why? I like what I'm doing, but I felt tired, but that's okay. But it's a good tired. It's not a sleepy tired. You've worked and your body, it actually feels really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you noticed anything else that's different now that you have incorporated a fairly regular physical routine into your life?
that you miss it when you don't do it.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
And I think also if you go too long without doing it, that, well, your fitness declines quite quickly, but it also bounces back faster
Mm-hmm.
than when you started off from not having done anything.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you maintain your fitness level. And the other thing that I've noticed, the recovery isn't as long. Like when we first started the run walk, yeah, I needed those 2-3 minute breaks. But now I realize with the buildup, you can do your 10-minute run and a 1-minute walk and you've recovered. So the recoveries, I notice that it's faster. I still just do run walks. I don't run nonstop, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still out there and I'm moving. And then I think also when you do the run walks, when you're a little bit fitter, you can recover doing a faster walk than it had to be at the beginning.
Right.
Your heart rate gets back down faster. So that's got to be good for your heart.
Well, and I love how you say that you had to build up to that, and that your perception is that you had to podium. That was what running was all about.
Yeah, and that you've got to start off running the whole time.
Yeah, but you built up and you were able to successfully finish a program because you did it at a pace and a way that worked for you, which I think is brilliant.
It's a very clever program. It's very well designed, and it's
excellent. I know we have Valerie. Valerie, did you have any questions? Any questions, Val, for Wendy? I don't think so.
No, that's all right.
That's okay. And sorry, did I click you off, Val? And anything else, Wendy, that you'd like to add as before we sign off?
No. I'm not sure. I guess just get out and just do it. And it doesn't matter if you do it for half an hour or an hour. And if you can't stick to what it is in that day for your training, maybe take that day off and then go the following day. Or just go out and do some movement and you'll feel good for it.
Yeah.
You'll have more energy. You get tired at the moment, but ultimately you have more overall energy.
Which is great. And I love when you were working part-time. I think my favorite part of Friday mornings was always like Wendy came in her running gear, ready to go. She did her workout and then she would disappear into the washroom and she'd like get changed and off to her next thing she went.
Yeah, and I was working in a candy store. I think that comes along with the running too. Once you decided to, and also the weight loss that I had through it, is you start looking at your diet more as well. And
right.
So it's an overall healthier outlook on life in all aspects. It's not just the physical, but it's the dietary. And then you start thinking about your sleep and
Yeah, and I know you talked a little bit about when you were in looking after your son. And I remember seeing you posting a picture of a run that you did, like you said, on the Bow River. And I just thought, oh my gosh, with all the stress that you were enduring during that time, to be able to take that time and appreciate that and have that stress release. I was just so thankful that you got that moment in that time. And I think that's what running, walking, pole walking, whatever exercise we're doing. I know for me, my kids are often saying to me, Mom, you haven't gone for a run for a couple of days. You need to go for a run. Like you're getting a little bit stressed about things. But it really does help, just like, whew, okay.
Yes, sometimes you're feeling so stressed that you don't want to do it. But then when you push yourself and you do take those 5 minutes and then you go beyond, you realize how much it has helped. And I remember coming back from Adam came back at Thanksgiving I think that was the marathon, and seeing you at Helmkin House that morning. And when you started to say how we all have something to be thankful for, I had a son who almost died. And I just started bawling. And then I bumped into Janice and Karen from the Friday morning group. And I just said to them, can I run with you? And they said, well, you're faster than we are. And I said, I just don't want to be alone. So they were wonderful. And it was so nice to have that support, because it had been a really tough period of time. And I just needed that friendship and that bonding from my sisters. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, I am so glad that our paths crossed a few years ago. And I'm so glad that you're a part of Soul Sisters. And I know there are so many great pieces of nuggets of wisdom and inspiration that you've shared with us tonight. And thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So thank you, and I can't wait to see you out on the TC 10K.
Yeah, we'll see you first of all at the lakes on Friday morning.
Well, yes, we will see you at the lakes first. So
okay, thanks.
So thank you so much, and good night, everybody.
Okay, bye. Thank you.